Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and today I want to talk about Star Trek, specifically a question that's been on my mind over the past couple of days, which is, what form should the next Star Trek series take? And, this is not an original question. It has been asked before, and I'm sure it's been debated all over the internet by fans and even creators and stuff like that alike. And I just wanted to kind of tackle it myself because it has been something that's been on my mind. I think the most basic aspect of the question is this going to be a live action show or an animated show? Because it has been bandied about in the last couple of years, both sides of the equation. Some people want to see an animated series brought back to TV as a sort of next generation to the original series animated version, Star Trek the Animated Series, I should say. And other people have suggested, let's get back to live action. Let's have a new live action, flesh and blood, tangible Star Trek on TV screens once again. And I think both of these, open up a sort of can of worms of questions as to where they could go with it, how they could do it. On the animated side, of course, you have the debate because of the current, what is considered animation these days. You could either have an all-CG animated series, something along the lines of the new Green Lantern series or Star Wars Clone Wars even. It could be a traditional 2D animation, much like Star Trek the Animated Series was. And, it would stand to debate where they would set this in the Star Trek canon. Would it be considered canon? Because I know there's a rife debate going on ever since it was created for the animated series. There are certain elements you could kind of consider to be canon, but it's always arguable with fans and stuff. But then there's the live action side of it. I mean, the most basic thing that comes to mind in that reference is, what timeline is it going to be set in? Is it going to be set in the original series timeline that encompasses the Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and so forth? Would it be in the new Abrams-verse timeline, the sort of offshoot timeline that was created for the 2009 Star Trek film? And going a step further, would this be the continued adventures of the original Enterprise, Kirk, Spock, McCoy, and all of those characters? Or perhaps would it be an entirely new crew, kind of in the vein of what Voyager was intended to be, and even Enterprise to a degree? So I think there are lots of questions here that we could debate. As for a live-action series, would it be live-action with tangible, concrete sets and bridges and ships and stuff like that? Or would they perhaps go somewhat Tron Legacy and have it be real flesh and blood actors, but with digital backgrounds? I mean, I really don't know how costly these things are in Hollywood and stuff. You could probably do a mix of both where alien planets are concerned and stuff. And speaking of aliens, how's about getting some more aliens on a crew? There are definitely a whole bunch of different things you can do. Let's not just have it be the same pegs over and over again. The Vulcans, the Romulans, the Klingons. There are non-humanoid aliens that we read about in the Star Trek novelizations, that we saw in the animated series, which I've been watching recently. And once again, and so it begs the question. There are so many, potential avenues they could go with this. And as far as a new crew, what crew would we be going with? I mean, if you look at, as I referenced earlier, the Star Trek novel series, well, quite frankly, there are a bunch of different avenues to go for there as well. You have the USS Titan, as captained by Commander Riker from The Next Generation. His first officer is Tuvok. You have the USS Aventine, which is captained by Ezri Dax, as of the Star Trek trilogy of novels, Destiny. You have the if you want to do a throwback to the original series, there is rife storytelling capability set within the Vanguard novel series. And I think all of these, are definitely things you can consider. Would someone who's trying to create a series consider them? I don't know. Frankly, out of school, when I was finishing up school, I came up with my very own Star Trek concept. And I've been modifying it over the last 2 decades to fit certain things that have happened and I haven't seen happen in the various incarnations of Trek, whether it be a TV series or films. and there's some time travel elements in it, but hopefully not as poorly used, arguably, as the Enterprise series did. It would not be the focus of the series, but it would be a recurring theme. And that's to say, I would want to try to make it something that we haven't seen before. The biggest problem I could foresee, whether they do go with a new crew or an established crew or whatever the case may be, you don't want to fall into the pitfalls of just telling the same kind of stories over and over again. This is the one reoccurring argument that I always hear referenced with Enterprise in its early seasons. And for me, being someone who didn't really watch a lot of Next Gen, Deep Space Nine, and probably too much of Voyager, I can see where that argument is coming from, but, I only really watched those series loosely. I was a fan of them, don't get me wrong, and I desperately want to be able to go and watch them more fully in my adulthood, but of course I just lack the funds to be able to do so. But Enterprise is the one that I saw from beginning to end, and without having this foreknowledge of, these episodes where similar stories were done before that, it wasn't a problem for me as a viewer. So, but I can see where that does become a problem, because in retrospect, there have been some Voyager episodes that I watched after I watched Enterprise, and I see, hey, wait a minute, this is kind of the same story already here, and things really played out similarly, and you don't want to fall into that pitfall. If you're going to create a new Star Trek series, you want something to be new and original. You want to tell new stories, go boldly into new avenues of storytelling, things. And so, I think overall these are all interesting questions. I mean, but then again, let's argue another point. Why even do another traditional Star Trek series? Why not have a, completely different kind of series, but set within the confines of the Star Trek universe? How about a sort of all Vulcan drama or political series set on Vulcan? You have some humans interacting, you have some aliens from other cultures interacting, but it would be very interesting, I think, to delve into the Vulcan culture, because there are so many things that we just don't know about them, and they are intriguing characters. How about having a Vulcan who is a stoic father figure, a son or daughter who is dealing with emotions? Maybe it's a half Vulcan, half human family, much like Spock. And I mean, you could tell interesting stories there. How about if it's a political drama? How do they deal well with these newer, alien cultures that we stumble onto, and so on and so forth, as ships like the Enterprise are going out there and meeting them? To take it another step further, how about a Federation Law and Order type of series, like a crime series set within the Federation? We travel to new worlds and we figure out crimes, and we, basically send these criminals to Starfleet courts and stuff like that. I mean, there's really any avenue that they could go down. Rather than a Starfleet crew, what if we follow a crew of ragtag pirates? I know this would kind of be a little too similar to the Firefly series, maybe, but, something along those lines. I really do believe that the concepts we could go with are just virtually endless. And, but I mean, basically for me, I would love to see a more traditional Star Trek series come back to the TV screens. I would love to see a new ship with a new crew, or perhaps an existing cast of characters in a new frame, like, again, the Aventine with Captain Ezri Dax and her band of characters. There would be some familiarity, but it would be new territory. And, I think these are all really exciting possibilities. But it just begs the question, which way are they going to go with it? I know another popular theory with certain Trekkies and Trekkers and fans, I prefer Trekkies, by the way, was to have a series based on the Excelsior with Captain Suler. Another alternative was to have a Starfleet Academy type of thing. Well, if you can have a Starfleet Academy series, what about, as I mentioned, an all-Vulcan series that might be a political drama? Or what about an all-Federation crime drama? That kind of thing. All of these are possible. What would be interesting? And this is kind of broadening on that whole topic that I did in a previous video, which I will link below as a video response in case you haven't seen, where I asked about the Star Trek films. Can we do better than yet another villain? we don't always want there to be a Star Trek movie where the adventure is going along nicely and a villain crops up and the crew has to best them. There's only so many times that story is going to be interesting. And I think we have to, I think now is the prime example of an opportunity where we have that opportunity to break away from that mold. We don't want it to always be that and nothing else, because it will become very uninteresting, very unentertaining for viewers who may be Trekkies or maybe not Trekkies. We want new stories, new adventures, and new interesting things. And if we get set into the same, you know, you're not going to go to Toys R Us and buy the same puzzle box and bring it home, ad infinitum, all these different versions of the same box and complete them over and over and over again. You don't want to do that. You want something to break up the monotony. You're not going to go and buy the same model kit over and over and over again and just repeatedly create this one model. As similarly with books, you may have your favorites that you want to reread, but you're not going to always just buy the one same copy of the same book for the rest of your life and get the same kind of entertainment value out of it. So I think this is a very broad argument, whether it be in Star Trek films, in a Star Trek TV series. You know, where can we go to make it more interesting for us, the fans, maybe to make it as interesting to bring in people who are unfamiliar with the whole Star Trek thing. And so I just wanted to really throw this out there to anyone who stumbles across it. Basically, as with all my videos, I'm kind of starting the conversation, and I'd really love to hear back from anyone who takes the time to listen to this, who is a Star Trek fan, or perhaps isn't, and would like to see certain things done that would draw them into it. Have your say. I mean, basically, you can reply in the comments. You can send me a video response. Anything is welcome, but not absolutely necessary. And I just thought I'd throw this out there and see who rolls with it. So, but that's pretty much all I have to say, as far as thinking out loud on this. I think it would be very interesting to have a new Star Trek series on TV, and I'm just really curious as to what avenues they could go to make it continually interesting and new and fresh and bold. That kind of thing. So, but otherwise, that's pretty much all I have to say on it, so I'll catch you all later. Peace.